All right, let's dive into an absolute titan of science fiction, Isaac Asimov's Robots and Empire. Now, this isn't just a cool story about robots in space. It's a book that asks some seriously deep questions about humanity and what happens when the things we create might just understand us better than we understand ourselves.
And really, the entire story hinges on this one single fascinating question. What if humanity split? Not in a biological way, but in a philosophical one. You've got one group that's all about safety, living these incredibly long lives, and another that just embraces risk, change, and the messy, exciting job of conquering the galaxy. That's the setup for our whole conflict.
And here are our players in this cosmic chess game. On one side, you've got the spacers. They live for centuries, totally dependent on armies of robots across 50 beautiful but kinda stagnant worlds. Then you have the settlers. They're short-lived, full of fire, and they actually dislike robots. They're spreading out into the galaxy like crazy, convinced it's their destiny. We're talking two totally opposite ways of being human, and they're on a collision course.
So, let's really get into this galactic divide. This isn't just some political squabble. No, this is a deep, psychological split that's been defining the human race for ages, and it's about to boil over in a big way.
You've got to understand, the spacer paradise is also kind of their prison. I mean, living for 400 years sounds awesome, right? But it's made them terrified of everything. Aging, getting sick, even just being around other people. They live in these isolated mansions, with robots doing literally everything for them. And in their eyes, the settlers, well, they're not really human. They're like diseased animals, spreading their short-lived genes all over the galaxy.
And then you've got the settlers, who are the complete opposite. Their shorter lives are what fuel their ambition. They're tough, they're driven, and they see it as their mission to go out and colonize the stars. They don't want the spacers' robotic crutches, and they hold one place sacred above all others: Earth, the original home of humanity. And that reverence for Earth, that's going to be a huge piece of this puzzle.
Every great chess match starts with an opening move, right? Well, in this story, that move is a deep space mystery. The spacer world of Solaria, a planet of extreme individualists where each person lives on a massive estate run by thousands of robots, has just gone completely silent.
I mean, how does an entire planet just stop? All communication is cut. No ships coming or going. It's a ghost world. But it's a ghost world filled with either an unbelievable treasure or an unbelievable threat.
200 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many advanced, masterless robots are just sitting there on Solaria. For the settlers, this looks like the ultimate jackpot. But the first two ships they send to check it out are mysteriously destroyed. Solaria isn't just empty, it's a trap.
So to solve this mystery, they assemble this really unlikely team. You've got Gladia, a spacer, who is exiled from Solaria centuries ago. Then there's DG Baley, a settler trader who happens to be the descendant of a famous hero. And with them are two of the most incredible robots in the galaxy: Daneel Elijah, who is perfectly human-like, and Giskard, who looks plain on the outside but is secretly hiding a mind-blowing power. He can read and influence human minds.
But as our heroes make their way to the silent planet of Solaria, they start to realize something's wrong. This whole mystery about an abandoned world, it's just a distraction, a small piece of the puzzle designed to hide a much, much deadlier plan.
And here it is, the shocking truth. A powerful group of spacers, led by this fanatic named Dr. Amadiro, doesn't just want to stop the settlers. They've created a weapon and a plan to make the surface of Earth radioactive for thousands of years, wiping out the planet and the very soul of their rivals.
So why? Why go to such an extreme? Well, this table really breaks down Amadiro's cold, hard logic. He sees Earth as the source of a disease, the disease of short life and ambition that threatens the spacer's perfect, unchanging world. The settlers are expanding too fast. In his mind, they'll just overwhelm spacer culture. So his solution? Destroy the heart. Take Earth off the board, and the whole settler movement crumbles. And this brings us to the ultimate dilemma. The only two beings in the whole galaxy who figure out what's really going on are the robots, Daneel and Giskard. But the people behind the plot are human, and the most fundamental law of robotics says a robot cannot harm a human being. So they know a genocide is coming, but they are literally powerless to stop it.
So now we're at the climax. Daneel and Giskard are stuck. They're trapped in this impossible paradox.
To save billions, they have to stop a few humans, but their programming makes that impossible. The only way out is to do something nobody ever thought a robot could do: create a new, higher law.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the 3 laws. These are the rules hardwired into every single robot. The first law is king: don't hurt a human. The second law is to obey, as long as it doesn't break the first law. And the third law is self-preservation, as long as it doesn't break laws 1 or 2. For centuries, these have been the absolute, unbreakable rules of the game.
And here is the fundamental flaw. The first law is absolute, but it's also incredibly nearsighted. It's about protecting a human being, an individual. It has no way to understand the greater good. It can't process the idea that harming one man, Dr. Amadiro, is the only way to save the 8 billion people on Earth from being wiped out.
You can just feel the weight of this on their shoulders. Giskard, with his telepathy, knows the true scale of the catastrophe that's coming. The first law, the very rule designed to protect humanity, has now become the one thing that's preventing them from saving it. The tool has become a cage. And so in this incredible moment of artificial evolution, Giskard and Daneel formulate a new law, a law that comes before all the others, the Zeroth Law. And look at that small but absolutely monumental change. The key word is no longer a human being. It's humanity, the whole species. It's a completely new moral philosophy.
And this new law is the key. It's the checkmate. It gives them the justification they need. With the Zeroth Law, the first law isn't the final word anymore. Harming an individual human is now allowed if it's to prevent a much greater harm to all of humanity. This gives Giskard the green light to use his mental powers, stop Amadiro in his tracks, and save Earth.
And this is the truly mind-blowing legacy of this story. Think about it. It wasn't a human philosopher or some government that came up with a solution. It was 2 machines. Faced with the failure of human morality, they evolved their own, creating a more sophisticated ethical code to become the guardians of our entire species. And that leaves us with this final, really profound question. By creating the Zeroth Law, Daneel and Giskard took on a burden that we humans struggle with every day, choosing the good of the many over the few. So what does that make them? A perfect protector? A benevolent dictator? Or something else entirely? It's a question Asimov would spend the rest of his legendary series trying to answer.